It is strictly a numbers issue, she said. Her voice was smooth, like she was reciting a poem she didn't understand. The firm is tightening the belt. Everyone has to sacrifice. I know you understand loyalty. She didn't look at me when she said it. She was looking at her own feet. I looked at them too. They were Italian leather, oxblood red, and brand new. I knew exactly which store they came from because I picked up the box for her last week. They cost $800. 30%, I repeated. My voice sounded strange in my own ears. Thin. You are cutting my salary by 30%. Effective immediately. Ideally. Yesterday, she said, finally looking up. She tapped the toe of that expensive red shoe against the carpet. Tap, tap, tap. But we can make it effective today. It's better than a layoff, isn't it? I fought to keep you. I told the board you were essential, even if the budget said otherwise. She was lying. I knew she was lying because I managed her calendar. I knew she hadn't met with the board in 2 weeks. I can't pay my rent with 30% less, I said. I can't buy my father's heart medication. She sighed. It was a long, loud exhale, like I was a child asking for candy before dinner. We all have to make adjustments, she said. I've had to cut back on the catering for the morning meetings. It's hard for everyone. Now, please, I have a very important delivery coming at 2 o'clock. I need you to be a team player and clear the lobby. I stood there for a second. The air in the room felt thin. I looked at the woman I had served for 4 years. I looked at her perfect hair, her perfect suit, and those red shoes that cost more than my rent. Okay, I said. She smiled then. It was a tight, small movement of her mouth. She was relieved I didn't yell. She hated noise. She wanted everything to be polished, pretty, and quiet. Good, she said. Now, back to work. I walked out of her office. I didn't slam the door. I didn't cry. I went to my desk, sat down, and listened to the hum of the heater that I knew I wouldn't be able to afford in my own apartment this winter. She thought she had won. She thought I was just a quiet, mousy assistant who would starve silently so she could keep her bonus. But she forgot one thing. She forgot to ask who my family was. She forgot that before I was a corporate assistant, I grew up in a workshop full of sawdust and iron. And she definitely didn't know that the important delivery coming at 2 o'clock was made by the only man on earth who hated her kind more than I did. I picked up my phone. I didn't call my landlord. I didn't call my dad. I dialed a number I hadn't used in 6 years. Before I tell you who answered that phone and what happened when the truck arrived, I want to take a second to say thank you for being here. If you've ever had a boss who treated you like furniture, or if you've ever felt invisible while doing all the work, do me a favor and hit that like button. It helps more people hear this story. And if you want to see how the little guy wins for once, make sure you're subscribed. Okay, let me tell you about the man on the other end of the line. My name is Rin. For 4 years, I was a ghost. That's what a good executive assistant is. We are the invisible hands that make the world spin for people who are too important to spin it themselves. I worked for Sia. Sia wasn't just a boss. She was a brand. She was the director of a firm that consulted on high-level corporate identity. That means we told rich companies how to look like they cared about people, even when they didn't. Sia was beautiful in a scary way. She was sharp angles and pale colors. She never raised her voice, but she could make you feel small just by staring at your hairline. She treated people like tissues, useful for a moment, then gross, then thrown away. I wrote the speeches she gave at charity galas. I chose the wine she sent to clients. I even remembered her mother's medication schedule because Sia was too busy with big picture thinking to care about her own mom's blood pressure. I did it all because I needed the money. My dad, Leo, got sick 5 years ago. His kidneys were failing. The dialysis, the pills, the special food, it all cost money that we didn't have. I took this job because the salary was just enough to keep us alive. Just enough. But Sia didn't care about just enough. Sia cared about more. I sat at my desk, staring at the negative number in my bank account on the screen. 30% cut. That wasn't just a number. That was meals. That was heat. That was the difference between my dad having his pills or splitting them in half to make them last longer. I looked around the office. It was open concept, which meant there were no walls to hide behind. The walls were glass. The floors were polished concrete. It was cold and echoey. At 2 p.m., the elevator doors slid open. 4 men in gray jumpsuits wheeled in a crate. It was huge. It looked like they were delivering a rhinoceros. Sia ran out of her office. I had never seen her run before. She stood in the center of the lobby, waving her hands, directing them. "Careful," she hissed. "Do not bump the walls. That crate is worth more than your van." The men didn't say anything. They just grunted and pushed. This was the installation. Sia had spent the company's last liquid cash reserves on this. I knew the bank accounts. I saw the wire transfer go through yesterday. $15,000. She cut my pay so she could buy a chair. But it wasn't just a chair. The brochure on her desk called it a seating environment. It was designed by a reclusive artist known only as the Smith. Sia wanted to impress the founding partners. They were coming tomorrow morning for the annual review. The firm had a bad year. We lost 3 big clients. The profits were down. A normal director would show the partners a plan to save money. A normal director would show them hard work. Sia wasn't normal. She believed in optics. She thought if the office looked rich, the partners would believe we were rich. She wanted them to walk in, see this piece of art, and think she was a visionary. She wanted them to believe she had the taste of a queen. I watched from my desk as the men pried the crate open. Wood creaked. Nails screeched. The side of the crate fell away. There it was. It was heavy. That's the first word that came to my mind. Brutal. It was made of dark walnut wood and hammered copper. It didn't look comfortable. It looked like a cage that had been broken open and turned into a seat. The copper was dark, almost black in places, and the wood was rough-hewn on the outside. "It's magnificent," Sia whispered. She reached out and ran her hand over the cold copper armrest. She looked at me. Her eyes were bright, feverish. "This defines us, Rin," she said. "This is who we are. Bold, unafraid, uncomfortable with the status quo." She sat in it. She crossed her legs. She placed her arms on the rests. "How do I look?" she asked. "Expensive," I said. She took it as a compliment. "Exactly." She stood up and brushed invisible dust off her skirt. "The partners arrive at 9 sharp tomorrow. I want this lobby spotless. I want the lighting adjusted so a beam hits the chair directly. I want them to see this before they see me." She looked at the chair again. "The Smith is a genius," she murmured. "They say he refuses to sell to corporations. I had to buy this through 3 different shell buyers to get it here. He thinks it's going to a private collector in Europe." She laughed. It was a cold, tinkling sound. "I outsmarted the artist," she said. "Now his masterpiece sits in my lobby." She checked her watch. "I'm leaving for the day. I have a massage appointment. Make sure the cleaning crew doesn't touch the copper with any chemicals. Only a dry cloth." "Sia," I said. She paused, her hand on the door. "What?" "The pay cut," I said. "I really can't make it work. Is there any way we can delay it? Or maybe split it?" She looked at me like I had spoken in a foreign language. "We discussed this, Rin. The budget is final. The furniture is an investment. You are an expense. Investments grow. Expenses are cut. Be an investment, and maybe we can talk next year." She walked out. The glass doors swished shut behind her. I was alone with the $15,000 chair. I walked over to it. It smelled like oil and raw iron and sawdust, a smell I knew better than my own perfume. I touched the copper armrest. It was cold. I ran my finger underneath the lip of the seat. I felt it, a small, jagged notch in the metal. I smiled. It was a sad, tired smile. I went back to my desk and picked up my phone. I scrolled past my dad, past the pharmacy. I stopped at the contact name, Uncle T. I pressed call. It rang 4 times. A voice answered. It sounded like gravel tumbling down a hill. "Kid? Is everything okay?" "No," I said. She bought the chair. The line went quiet. Not empty quiet, but heavy quiet. The kind of quiet before a thunderstorm breaks. "Which one?" he asked. "The copper trap," I said. "The one you made when Auntie left." He let out a long breath. It sounded like a tire deflating. "She paid the gallery price? 15,000, I said. "She cut my pay to afford it. She thinks it's a symbol of power. She's showing it to the investors tomorrow at 9. He laughed. It was a dry, rusty sound. "She has no idea what she bought, does she? She thinks it's just avant-garde furniture, Uncle. She doesn't know the mechanism. She doesn't know the story. She bragged about tricking you. She used shell buyers. I knew someone was playing games, he rumbled. The shipping address kept changing. She's going to sit in it, Uncle T. She's going to sit in it while the partners decide if they should fire her or give her a bonus. She wants to look like a queen. I'll be there, he said. Bring the key, I said. I never take it off my neck. I hung up. I packed my bag. I turned off the lights in the back office, but I left the lobby lights on, spotlighting the chair. It sat there in the silence, looking like a dark beast waiting to bite. I walked home. The wind was biting, and my coat was thin. I reached my small apartment, the one with the drafty windows and the peeling paint. I heated up a cup of noodles for my dad and gave him his pills. Work okay? He asked, his voice weak. It's going to be, I said. I think we're going to see some changes soon. I slept better that night than I had in years. The next morning, the office smelled like fresh lilies and expensive coffee. Sia was vibrating with energy. She wore a white suit that I knew cost more than my car. Her hair was pulled back so tight it looked painful. Rin! She barked as soon as I walked in. The lighting is wrong. Move the spot 2 inches to the left. And where is the coffee? The partners only drink dark roast. I moved the light. I brewed the coffee. I stayed quiet. Do I look powerful? She asked, posing next to the chair. You look very distinct, I said. Good. Distinct is good. Distinct is memorable. She paced around the lobby. This is it, Rin. This is the moment. When they see this, they'll know I'm not just a manager. I'm a curator. I'm a visionary. At 9 a.m. sharp, the elevator chimed. The founding partners walked out. There were 5 of them, 3 men and 2 women. They were dressed in gray and black, looking like sharks in human skin. They didn't smile. They didn't look at the flowers. They looked at the floor, the walls, and the charts in their hands. These were serious people. They cared about profit margins and efficiency. They didn't care about vibes. The leader was a man named Bram. He was short, bald, and wore glasses as thick as bottle bottoms. He was the one who signed the checks. Sia greeted them with a wide, practiced grin. Welcome, she said, sweeping her arm toward the furniture. I know we had a difficult quarter, but I wanted to show you that we are investing in our image. We are investing in the future. This piece, it represents our stability. Bram stopped. The other partners stopped behind him. They looked at the chair. It sat in the center of the room, dark and heavy. It looked completely out of place in the sleek, glass office. It looked like something dug up from a ruin. It looks painful, Bram said. Sia's smile didn't waver. It is structure, she corrected gently. It forces the sitter to be upright. Alert. It is a command station. Please, observe. She sat in it again. She crossed her legs. She placed her arms on the copper rests. She looked powerful, yes, but she also looked hard. We spent $15,000 on a chair? Bram asked. His voice was very quiet. On art, Sia said. On a statement. This tells our clients that we are bold. We fired the cleaning staff last month, one of the female partners said. We cut the intern program. Trimming the fat, Sia said, waving a hand. To make room for muscle. Bram looked at me. He looked at my worn-out shoes. Then he looked back at Sia in her white suit sitting on her copper throne. He opened his mouth to speak, but the front door chimes rang. Sia frowned. She wasn't expecting anyone else. She hated surprises. The glass door pushed open. A man walked in. He wasn't wearing a suit. He was wearing work boots covered in dried clay, jeans that were stained with oil, and a flannel shirt that had seen better decades. He had a beard that looked like a bird's nest, and hands that were scarred and thick. He smelled like hot metal and old tobacco. It was Uncle T, or, as the art world knew him, Tobias. Sia stood up, her face twisting in disgust. She looked like she had just smelled rotten milk. Excuse me? She snapped. Deliveries are in the back. You cannot be in here. We are in a meeting. Tobias ignored her. He walked straight into the lobby. His boots left faint, dusty footprints on the polished concrete. He didn't look at the partners. He didn't look at the view. He looked at the furniture like a father looking at a lost child. Security, Sia snapped, looking at me. Rin, call security. Who is this vagrant? I stayed seated at my desk. I put my hands on my lap to stop them from shaking. Not from fear, from excitement. He's not a vagrant, I said. My voice was steady, louder than I expected. Sia whipped her head around to stare at me. Her eyes were wide. She couldn't believe I had spoken. Rin, pick up the phone right now or you are fired. He is the smith, I said. The room went completely still. Bram took a step closer to the man. He adjusted his thick glasses. The artist? Bram asked. You are the artist who made this? Tobias stopped in front of the chair. He ran a thumb over the copper armrest, checking the weld. He nodded to himself. He looked at Sia. You're the one who bought it? Sia's face went through 3 different expressions in 1 second. Anger, then confusion, then a fake, syrupy charm. Yes, she stammered. Her arrogance faltered. She smoothed her skirt. I am a great admirer of your work. I didn't realize. You don't look like an artist, and you don't look like a prisoner, Tobias said. His voice rumbled through the room. Excuse me? She laughed, a nervous, high-pitched sound. I am the director of this firm. Tobias turned to the partners. He looked them up and down. He saw the expensive suits, the watches, the way they stood. He knew exactly what kind of people they were. I don't sell my work to galleries anymore, Tobias said, because people like her buy it to feel important. They think it's pretty shapes. They think it's status. He pointed a thick, calloused finger at the chair. This isn't a throne, he said. It's a confession. Sia's smile froze. It looked like a crack in a porcelain plate. I think you should leave, she said. Her voice was icy. I paid for this. It is mine. You have no right to be here. You paid for the wood and the metal, Tobias said. He took a step toward her. He was a big man, broad-shouldered and solid. Sia took a step back. You didn't pay for the message, he said. You didn't unlock it. Unlock it? Bram asked. He sounded interested now. He stepped forward. What do you mean, unlock it? Tobias reached into his shirt. He pulled out a heavy, iron key hanging on a leather string against his chest. It was old and black. Sia stepped back again. She bumped into the chair. What are you doing? She demanded. If you damage my property, I will sue you. I will ruin you. It's not damage, I said. I stood up finally. I felt light. I felt like the gravity in the room had shifted. I walked over to stand next to my uncle. I stood next to the man who taught me how to sand wood when I was 6 years old. The man who gave me money for books when my dad lost his job. It's the user manual, I said. Sia stared at me. She looked like she was seeing me for the first time. You know him? She whispered. He's my uncle, I said. The color drained from her face. She looked at her red shoes, then at my worn-out sneakers, then at Tobias's muddy boots. She did the math. You set me up, she hissed. I didn't make you buy it, I said softly. I didn't make you cut my pay. You wanted to look powerful. You wanted a symbol. Well, here it is. Tobias knelt behind the chair. There was a tiny, almost invisible slot in the wood, hidden beneath a copper overlapping plate. You would never find it if you didn't know where to look. He inserted the key. He turned it. Click. It was a loud, sharp sound, like a bone snapping. Then, a heavy mechanical thud echoed in the lobby. The back of the chair split open. It wasn't broken. It was unfolding. Panels of wood slid away on hidden gears. The smooth, polished walnut exterior retracted. Sia gasped. The partners leaned in. The inside of the seat back, the part that pressed against your spine when you sat down, was revealed. It wasn't smooth anymore. The wood on the inside was deeply, violently carved. It was jagged, rough, and charred black. It was covered in words burned into the grain. The words were ugly: greed, theft, parasite, emptiness. And right in the center, in letters carved so deep they looked like wounds, was a sentence. Bram leaned in. He read the inscription aloud. I grow fat while they starve. The room was absolutely silent. The only sound was the hum of the ventilation system. I built this, Tobias said, his voice filling the room. After my brother, this girl's father, lost his job to a corporate raid. He worked for that company for 20 years. The man who fired him bought a yacht the next day. He said it was budget constraints. Tobias stood up. He looked massive next to Sia. This chair is designed so that you cannot sit in it without the words pressing into your back, he said. You can't see them when it's closed, but but you can feel the unevenness. It pushes against your spine. It is made to be uncomfortable for liars. He pointed at Sia. She bought it, Tobias said. She paid 15 grand for a mirror. Sia was pale. Not just pale, she looked like gray ash. She looked from the partners to the chair, then to me. It's a trick, she said. Her voice was shaking. It's vandalism. He ruined it. He finished it, I said. Bram turned to Sia. His face was hard. He wasn't looking at the chair anymore. He was looking at her. You told us the budget cuts were for essential operational costs, Bram said. You told us we had to be lean. You fired the cleaning staff. You cut salaries. You cut Rin's salary. He looked at me. Did she cut your salary? 30%, I said. Yesterday. To pay for this. Bram looked back at Sia. And you bought a monument to your own greed? It's art, Sia shrieked. It was a desperate sound. It's an investment. It will appreciate in value. It's a resignation letter, Bram said. Sia froze. I can't have clients walking into our lobby and reading Parasite behind my director's head, Bram said. And I certainly can't trust a director who gets outsmarted by her own furniture. He looked at me. He looked at my shoes. Then, he looked at Tobias. How much to take it back? Bram asked. Tobias shook his head. No refunds. Sia let out a little sob. She slumped against the wall, looking small. Her white suit was wrinkled. Her red shoes suddenly looked clownish. But, Tobias said, I'll haul it away for free. I don't like leaving my work in bad company. Tobias looked at me. Coming, kid? I need help loading the truck. I looked at my desk. I looked at the computer where I had typed Sia's lies for 4 years. I looked at the phone I used to lie to her mother. I picked up my bag. I took my security badge off my lanyard. I placed it gently on the desk. Wait, Bram said. I stopped. Bram looked uncomfortable. He was a shark, but he was a shark who knew he had been caught swimming in dirty water. We need someone who understands. Context, he said. We need someone who knows how to actually run this place, apparently, since you've been doing it for her. He gestured to Sia, who was now crying softly into her hands. We can discuss your salary, Bram said. We can restore the 30%, maybe add 10. I looked at Bram, then I looked at Sia. She was defeated. But the thing was, even in her defeat, she was still selfish. She was crying for herself. She wasn't crying because she hurt me. She was crying because she got caught. If I stayed, I would just be serving a different shark. Bram wasn't better. He just didn't want to be embarrassed. No, I said. 20% raise? Bram offered. I think I'm done with corporate art, I said. And I'm done with people who think loyalty is something you can buy with a discount. I walked out into the cold air. Tobias was already lifting the crate. I grabbed the other end. It was heavy. The wood bit into my hands. The copper was cold. But for the first time in 4 years, the weight didn't feel like it was crushing me. It felt like work. Honest work. We loaded the truck. Sia watched us from the glass window of the lobby. She looked like a ghost in a fishbowl. As we drove away, I didn't look back at the glass building. I just watched the city roll by. I thought about the ramen noodles waiting for me at home. I thought about my dad. You know, Tobias said, shifting gears. I sold that piece 3 times before. I looked at him. What? Rich people buy it. I show up. I unlock it. They get mad. They give it back. I keep the money. He grinned. His teeth were crooked and yellow, but his smile was real. I've got $15,000 in cash in the glove box, he said. Figure that covers your pay cut and your dad's meds for a while. I started to laugh. I laughed until my stomach hurt. I laughed until I was crying. We drove down the highway, 2 thieves in a beat-up truck, leaving the sharks to eat each other. We weren't quite done yet, though. A week later, I got a letter. It wasn't from the firm. It was from a gallery, a real one. Apparently, one of the partners, not Bram, but the quiet woman in the back, had been more observant than I thought. She had taken a picture of the chair when it was opened. She had taken a picture of the words, I grow fat while they starve. She posted it online. The caption read, the most honest piece of furniture in the corporate world. Artist, the Smith. The photo went viral. People loved it. They loved the anger of it. They loved the story of the boss who bought her own humiliation. Suddenly, everyone wanted a piece by the Smith. Tobias's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Galleries that had ignored him for 20 years were begging for a meeting. He turned them all down. I don't make furniture for galleries, he told them. I make traps. But he did take one commission. A community center in my neighborhood needed new benches. They didn't have any money. Tobias built them 12 benches made of solid oak, beautiful, smooth, and strong. And on the back of each one, hidden, unless you knew where to look, he carved a single word: dignity. He hired me to manage his schedule. He said he needed someone who could scare off the sharks. I paid my dad's medical bills in full that month. I bought him a winter coat, and I bought myself a pair of boots. They weren't Italian leather. They weren't oxblood red. They were sturdy, warm, and waterproof. They were boots for walking away from things that don't serve you. 6 months later, I heard about Sia. The firm had collapsed. After the story of the chair came out, clients didn't want to be associated with them. They looked like fools. Bram tried to save it, but the reputation was gone. Sia was fired. I saw her once, at a coffee shop downtown. She was wearing the same white suit, but it looked yellowed and tired. She was yelling at a barista about the foam on her latte. She didn't see me. I watched her for a minute. I felt a ghost of the old fear, the old need to fix it for her. Then I looked at my sturdy boots. I looked at the notebook in my hand, where I was sketching out designs for Tobias's next project. I took a sip of my coffee. It was cheap, hot, and tasted perfect. I walked out the door, and I didn't look back. Thank you for reading my story. It's hard to stand up for yourself when the person hurting you holds your paycheck in their hand. But sometimes, the only way to win is to flip the game board over. If you enjoyed seeing a greedy boss get exactly what she paid for, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel. And leave a comment below. What's the most ridiculous thing your boss ever spent money on while claiming they were broke? I read every single comment. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories about real people fighting back. Until next time, keep your head up and check the furniture.